Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Preston Judd. I am running for Florida State House in District 2. The topic I am going to cover is AI. There are a lot of beliefs that AI is the Wild West of the tech world right now. There are certain ways that AI is benefiting our communities, and there are also the dangers that it poses our jobs, the state, our country, also to our kids and what is available at our fingertips. When you consider everything that humanity has discovered and trained to do good for us, whether it was the first rock and stick that the first humans picked up and cracked together, that could be argued as the first instance of AI. When you drive your car, when you turn the wheel, when you pick up your phone and make a call, when the PCs came to fruition, when we had the television invented. All of these different cases I consider arguably AI. There were pluses and negatives through the years. With the dot-com boom, there were bad things that came about that we could search on the internet. There were bad things you could download. With every new iteration of invention or discovery, there is inevitably going to be a negative detractor as well as a good side of every new innovation. Sadly, it can be weaponized, and we need to ensure we are on the forefront of these new technologies while also creating boundaries that prevent, hopefully, the misuse and abuse of these new technologies. In my opinion, if this helps humanity and it helps our communities and it helps our programs while minimizing job losses, while minimizing the negativity that it could cause with our children and our upcoming generations, at the same time, that balance needs to be struck to ensure that whatever capability is possible through these new technologies, AI, robotics, it can and will be weaponized by humans. That's just a part of our nature. We need to ensure while we are creating these bills that create some type of boundary to prevent either job loss, power hikes because of the data centers sucking up all the power, that we are not hampering our technology, our military, our businesses, to be able to utilize this and stay at the forefront of this. We do not want to fall behind technologically wise and make sure that we are on the cutting edge of all new technology. In this new bill that was proposed this week in Florida to set some boundaries for AI and what it can be used for, especially the misuse and abuse, one of the mentioned items in this proposed bill was protecting name, image, and likeness. I agree with that. There has been a lot of misuse with this technology, technically stealing people's likeness and images and possibly using it for nefarious reasons. For instance, when I wrote this book, I made sure that I included that this book contained no AI generated information. To me, that speaks volumes for folks that are still out there using this and lessons that AI can never recreate, can never learn from, whether it's from battle, personal life experiences, whether it's helping vets. There's certain things that AI should not be allowed to get into, in my opinion. That goes along with this bill that was proposed. I believe there's an authenticity to things that are still created without the use of AI that use the old thinker, because there are certain things that AI will never be able to gain that we as humanity have, which is empathy. Another thing that AI has been shown to take advantage of, and folks using it to take advantage of, is deep fake, making content that is so realistic you have a very hard time differentiating from real and fake. As I enjoy some of these social media platforms, and others do as well, it is getting harder and harder to differentiate between reality and what is not. Another point in this proposed bill, which I agree with, is a disclaimer, just like I did with this book. Authentic, written by a human, or it is AI generated. I think there's a certain value in an unspoken and unwritten rule, now it could be written, that AI waters down the arts It waters down critical thinking. It takes away from the authenticity of a lot of things that we do as a society. I believe that disclosure is necessary. It should be mandatory so that you know if it's truth. Like if somebody comes out with a newsreel, it looks so authentic that you can't differentiate and it's completely off base and completely fake. That should be disclosed on that content. A big one for me, additionally, within this bill is child protections. There have been a few cases, I've read them sadly, of where children, sometimes young adolescents, have been influenced to do horrible things, self-harm, and gosh forbid the suicidal ideations, and actually follow through on it. That is a sad state of affairs that should never be allowed to be unchecked. I agree with that on this bill, and I believe other states should follow suit. If you have children like I do, you want those protections out there with this new technology and far too much knowledge at the fingertips of our children. And perhaps they stumble on something that you don't want them delving into at such a young and impressionable age. You want them to just grow up happily without all this subversive information that's coming in and probably changing them for the worse, not for the good. I agree with that on this bill. Another item that was in this bill, AI restrictions, the human factor. So keeping AI out of decision making that affects people's lives. The AI can't differentiate between a professional psychologist. The other items that, quite frankly, will always, in my opinion, need that human factor to take account of issues that AI will never be able to contemplate. We'll never have the empathy to deal with it or make the correct decision. We need to be very careful of where we let AI delve into our daily lives, or else we run the risk of being run by robots. Nobody wants a society that is robotic and treats humans like another number. We are human. Their human factor should remain in a lot of these sectors that affect our daily life. Another issue that was brought forward in this bill is a lot of these data centers that are being thrown up without proper planning, and it's taken power away from our cities and our towns and also raising our rates. The last thing we need in this country right now is another rate increase, especially power, when we already have inflated property taxes, inflated property homeowners insurance, inflated auto insurance, power bills that are already too high in my opinion, gas bill, medical insurance, all these things that we don't need another price hike, especially inflated from greedy companies that are out hoovering up data from the internet to create their AI models. I believe all these things need to be examined, and I do believe they need to be taken into account as the AI bubble continues to unfold. Not unlike the .com, it was the next new thing. Eventually that bubble popped. With all things, once AI has reached its apex, it will probably slow down, and we will put some checks and bounds out there to ensure the safety of our children, our families, our infrastructure, and our job security. I do believe with AI, we need to stay at the apex of this new technology and make sure we are using it to the full benefit of our military, our production, and other factors that we dare not fall behind as other countries are seeking the same thing. Especially in the military sector, I believe this AI push will be a huge benefit. It will help with the production of, like F-35s, or the new 6th gen, probably 7th gen aircraft that are coming down the line. We need to be in lockstep with these new techs, especially in the military realm. I believe another boon for the AI bubble will be in the space realm, putting the pedal to the metal as far as making sure it's integrated into our space exploration. That is the next journey for humans, I believe, is getting out there. We have an unlimited amount of exploration, and it's a sandbox out in space. As we embrace exploring more, and SpaceX and some of these other companies, as they develop their ability to go out into space that AI already is and will be integral to making it safer, making it affordable, on and on. So I believe that is a sector that AI will have the propensity to propel humanity. That is kind of what is encased in this proposed bill, and it's setting a precedence for the other states, and it's also setting a precedent for those running these AI data centers that are just out hoovering up all data, not differentiating between what is perhaps classified. There need to be checks and bounds, control it so this monster doesn't get out of the box, and then we pay for it later down the line. I believe with the coming of AI, it is going to affect jobs. What I am doing is projecting out in some areas that are AI proof. With AI taking a hold of some jobs, we need to, as a society, kind of start projecting out long-term planning of some jobs that are AI proof and begin aiming for those. That's what I tell my children as they go through school and graduate into college and then on, is project out of some of these career choices that are not going to be affected by AI. Some of those jobs are pretty common sense. Proper planning for the future will mitigate some of these job losses from AI. In closing, I believe with all new tech, we need to be at the apex of it. There's going to be other things coming down the line besides AI. We have robotics, we got self-driving, we got space flight. We need to make sure we're not throttling it to a point to where it stymies innovation and discovery. That is a fine line. I do believe with this bill that it treads that line while protecting humanity. I encourage my children to always be seeking and learning of the new technology coming down the line, because that is the next generation that will take these things, hopefully use them for good of humanity, but at the same time, knowing humans' history, we must be always prepared and be able to use these things to benefit our safety, our military, and our national security. Once again, my name is Preston Judd. I'm running for Florida State House District 2. I love the state of Florida. I want to empower it, make sure it endures, setting precedents for smart leadership, service to country, and taking care of you, the constituents. Thank you for your time. Like and share. That will help my campaign tremendously. I will see you next week.